Hey everyone, welcome to Wednesday. And if it's Wednesday, it's Amadeus and I, and Amadeus talking MLS soccer. So Amadeus, how you doing? Good to see you. And we're early in the season, but there's got to be some trends you're looking at as we get moving here in the league.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously there was we had the Florida Derby last week,
Hmm.
and Miami just continues to show that they're leagues above everybody else in the MLS right
Hmm.
now. So yeah, that was some fantastic. I talked up Julian Gressel, and he had his fingerprint all over that 5-0 win against Orlando. So
Hmm.
expect nothing but great things from him and the rest of that team going forward. But yeah, we had some interesting scores on the weekend. LAFC, they fooled us all with that 2-1 win against Seattle at home. But sure enough, first away match of the season, Salt Lake pounds their teeth in 3-0, and Salt Lake received a red card late in that game too. Obviously, the game was over by then. It was
Hmm.
5 minutes to go, but yeah, there you go, LAFC. This is not the same team that we've seen the last few years. Maybe they still hold their own at home and beat those big teams like Seattle and some of the better
Hmm.
teams in the league. But when this team's not at home, man, they're gonna be something else this year. That's for sure.
There you go. There's a couple of games tonight. New England is facing a team from goodness, I'm sorry, I can't see it on the screen. It's
Yeah, they're playing Alajuelense from Mexico.
okay. So they're playing a team from Mexico. Houston's playing Columbus tonight. Tomorrow we have Miami playing. Cincinnati is first against Monterey, and then Nashville takes on Miami. So there's a rare Thursday night game, and then we got our Saturday games. So, you know,
Yeah, these games are actually part of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So
oh, okay,
I don't know why they changed the name from Champions League to Champions Cup, but it's Champions League. That's
okay.
what it is. But yeah, we also had a match yesterday. There was a few actually. Let me just pull
Mm-hmm.
them up. I think Orlando played in that one, and they tied 0-0 with Pachuca. These are all just the first legs. So yeah, Philadelphia tied 0-0 with Pachuca.
Right.
Orlando tied 0-0 with the Tigres. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely, this tournament's looking very MLS and Mexican dominated right now. A lot of
Okay.
clubs. That it's going to be a big game for Houston and Columbus tomorrow for sure. Obviously, Columbus are the defending MLS champions, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a different league. Champions Cup, different motivations for sure. It'll be interesting because Columbus comes into that game as a favorite, but we've seen these midweek matches could throw a wrench in for some teams, especially when you have to travel. I will say Columbus is getting it easy because they're playing an MLS team. They don't have to travel too far. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's going to be some interesting ones. Cincinnati plays Monterey tomorrow. Monterey is a very good Mexican club. So that'll be interesting. And then obviously, you mentioned Nashville and Miami on Thursday. That'll be interesting to watch because, Champions Cup is definitely Messi and Suarez, they played Champions League their whole career in Europe, so this is a big deal for them. Even though it's CONCACAF, they still want to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So they're here to play, and that'll be an exciting match tomorrow for sure.
Yeah,
Nashville and
it's
Miami.
gonna be fun to see. We have this year, so hopefully this year it'll be a lot, equally as fun. And so Miami's got a rare Thursday, and then we get set up for league play back again on Saturday. In Portland, Toronto, Charlotte, Atlanta, New England, Columbus, Chicago, Red Bull, and Dallas, Orlando, and Minnesota. That's a quick turnaround for Orlando. They played Wednesday, and then they play again here on Saturday night. So, and in Philadelphia and Seattle.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna see. We're gonna see how the midweek matches affect some of these teams. Like I
Mhm.
said, depth becomes a real issue in these matches because you have to really take into account what the teams are focused on. Obviously, it's early in the MLS season right now, so a team like Columbus might be looking at it like we won the MLS Cup last year. We have all season to make it into the top 9 of the Eastern Conference. If we need to, sacrifice our weekend match to focus on getting a lead here and going into the second leg at home with a real chance to advance, so some of those teams might look at that. So motivation really comes into question for these ones. Obviously, depth is a big thing, but you really got to know what teams are focused on the competition. Obviously, Miami was another one I said where they'll be focused on this one. And considering they're playing the Thursday game,
Mhm.
actually, I need to check. I think they actually have a bye because they played that first Wednesday. No, they play Cincinnati on Sunday, and or not Cincinnati,
Mhm.
Montreal. Sorry. So that they're a big favorite at home. Montreal's not a great team, so that might be
Mhm.
one. Again, Miami looks at it like they're gonna try and take a lead against Nashville here in this match, and if they'll assume they can beat Montreal even with a not 100% effort. But yeah, there's a lot to take into account now early in the season, especially with the Champions
Mhm.
Cups going. But yeah, it's definitely some big factors there to look into.
That the young kids on Miami are helping, Suarez and Messi because they're basically, these are kids that grew up idolizing these these two guys. Now they're on the same pitch with them, and they don't want to disappoint.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Again, with the motivation, when you're playing, when you're
Right.
out there on the same pitch with your idols, you always want to
Right.
give 100%, give your
Hmm.
best effort because you don't want to look bad in front of them. And at the
Right.
same time, they complement each other well because obviously there's things Messi and Suarez can't do at that age that the young kids are going to make up for. But guess what? It's those experienced voices in Messi and Suarez that are going to
Hmm.
keep these young kids in line, and that's what the veterans contribute to the team. That's so they complement each other well because they'll be there. When someone steps out of line or makes a mistake, they don't panic. You have the veterans there to tell them you need to do this.
Well, I think that 1 year having it wasn't quite a year, but that 5 months they played together last year certainly helped them because there are players here you could see last year where Messi would make a pass to one of these kids and they're like, "Okay, what do you want me to do with it?" It's like, "Well, you might want to just strike it in the back of the net because it's right there." Um, but I mean, that's something you see a lot in basketball and football, and you've got rookies or young players and they're playing on a team with someone who's they idolize while they're growing up. There's that kind of like, I'm not sure I'm on the same field with these people at first. Then it's like I'm not sure I deserve to be on the field with it. And finally, it's the acceptance that, hey, guess what? I'm happy to be here. You're part of my team, and I do whatever I need to make it happen for both of us.
Yeah, that's why Messi coming mid-season last year when
Hmm.
Miami was pretty much at the bottom and out out of any playoff chances. Really, that was really the perfect move because they used that second half of the season to improve, and it was sort of like an extended preseason for them, really. And now you really see them, just clicking and coming out on all cylinders to start this season.
Hmm. Well, there's a piece today about Inter Miami's Federico Rendendo. Is it Is Red Redondo? I'm trying to get it straight. Because he said, "Look, I idolized the guy, and now, you know, I'm one locker down from him,
Yeah,
and clearly it's making it's helping both of them out."
yeah, and as you said, you got at first you get that kind of star struckness that a lot of these guys had last season, right? And that's why it really worked out. Whereas an extended preseason, because now you've had enough, you've played enough where you've gotten over that and you're ready to go. And clearly, you know, they've come out, they've won both their home matches in pretty convincing fashion, and they squeaked out a point in their one away match. So we'll just have to see how they play away from home. Obviously, we haven't seen too much of that, especially with Suarez, but we're going to get a taste of it tomorrow against Nashville. So that might be a very important match to see how this team performs on the road when they're really trying, you know, full 100, giving 100% in the match.
Well, you know what? Let me ask you this. As we get, it's early, so I totally understand that. But are there surprises and disappointments to you early on in the season in this, 4 games?
Yeah. So one surprise to me is the DC United has come out very strong. They picked up Christian Benteke in the transfer window, and he's really, you know, he's really galvanized this attack on this team. He scored a hat trick in his first MLS match. He didn't score in their last one, but again, DC, you know, they're down 2-0 on the road against Portland. They came back and tied that with about 10 minutes to go. They scored 2 goals 20 minutes to go. They scored 2 goals to tie it 2-2. So yeah, definitely DC is a bit of a surprise to me. That's going to be a team to watch. I think Minnesota is going to be a bit of a team to watch, just because I mentioned they got my guy Teemu Pukki, and I'm interested to see what they do. They beat Austin on the road in their first match, and then tied with the defending champions at home, Columbus, last week. So they're a very strong team. I think Minnesota is going to be a bit of a surprise this year. I'll say I'm disappointed in the way Seattle came out in their first match, and especially, you know, last week they drew 0-0 with Austin at home. They need to be winning those kinds of matches. Obviously, I've talked about how I have Seattle to win the Western Conference, so I'm really hoping they start to step up. They've been a bit of a disappointment for me, but those are 3 teams right there. 2 I think are teams to watch, and 1 that's been a bit of a disappointment so far. But still early, things can change.
With these, what are some of the upcoming tournaments that we should be keeping an eye on? I mean, you've got some. Last summer we had a fantastic, when the Mexican teams played the MLS teams. And that's CONCACAF? Is that the Champions League Cup, or is that a different event entirely?
Yeah, so that's a different event. That one is called the Leagues Cup, and pretty much what that is it's supposed to be domestic cup, sort of like the U.S. Open Cup, but instead they've opened it up to some other teams, obviously in Mexico, and I believe they're even going to try to expand it to more of the Central American teams. Maybe like the winner of each league will get a bid to the Leagues Cup. So that's kind of like the U.S. Open Cup. They're one and the same, and most leagues in Europe tend to have that. Like obviously the English Premier League has the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. So normally I believe only it's really Italy now that has the one domestic cup. They got rid of one of them a few years ago, but this is it's one that's going to be a good one to watch. Right now, I mean, there's the CONCACAF Gold Cup for the women going on right now. If you're interested, I believe there are some women's matches tonight as well. Obviously, this summer we have the Euro Cup and the Copa America coming in June, so that's going to be a big competition to worry about. Especially, I don't know if the MLS is taking it off, because they are hosting Copa America in the United States. So I hope the MLS is taking a bit of a break. So their players, obviously, it's always terrible to watch them force these teams to play when half their squad is out at international duty. It really, I get you want to finish the season, but it takes away from the game, because it's not fair to these teams who, you have a really good, maybe you're a middle of the pack team, you have a chance to make the playoffs, but that 2-3 week stretch is what hurts you, because you're taking away the best players of the team and still forcing them to play games, regular season games that have full count while there's another competition going on. But yeah, those are all going to be ones to watch. So, US Cup, Leagues Cup, Euro Cup, and Copa America. It's going to be a jam-packed summer for sure, with plenty of competitions.
There's stuff going on, as the old saying goes. So, all right, well, we can do that. One of the things that taking a look at this schedule and looking at the what's going on is there seems to be an uptick, which is a good thing. It's only a small sample size, but there's definitely an uptick in attendance. There seems to be, definitely a rise in attendance in the MLS, and they're playing without they're playing with referees that aren't the guys who they thought they were going to be. So they've got some substitute officials in there, but those guys seem to be doing okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, the refs, I don't really follow too much on that
Right,
end.
yeah.
But it doesn't surprise me that more and more seats are selling. Like I said,
Mhm.
Christian Benteke came over to DC,
Right.
Timo Pukki over to Minnesota. Now that Messi's come to the MLS, you're going to see a lot more of those stars probably come over, as we've been seeing in recent years anyway. But there might even be just a tiny spike in the wave of players that choose the MLS over the Saudi Pro League or something like that, right? Obviously, because Messi's here now. We're never going to be getting, the Mbappes or the Jude Bellinghams till, 10, 15 years from now.
Down the road, yeah.
Yeah, but you're gonna get the guys that have made a career for themselves already. So that's one plus, right? You don't breed the young talent like they do in some of these South American leagues, but we've seen how that can hurt them as well. Obviously, in the first half of the season, much stronger teams than in the second half when they sell their players. So it's very interesting how South America is kind of the complete opposite in that sense, where it's they breed the young players, sell them off to bring in some funds, and then they get the team by. Whereas the MLS is about bringing in the veterans, these guys that you've watched them for years, and the league is at a level where they can still compete very competitively. So eventually, that'll probably bridge the gap as more of these players come over, for sure, as we see, Messi and Suarez giving their knowledge to the fellow teammates. That'll happen more throughout the leagues, with more teams that bring in international players, and it'll only continue to bridge the gap and improve.
Well, in many ways, that's what happened when Pele came to the United States and the NASL back in the day. I mean, once Pele came, then Giorgio Canaglia came, and then Johan Cruyff and a number of other superstars from Europe decided, you know what, it may not be a bad idea to end our careers here. I don't think they realized that ending their careers meant ending the league, but that was mismanagement on the league's part. It had nothing to do with them. But yeah, I mean, this is if it's a destination place, if they figure out a way to make money with Messi and Suarez and those guys, then I think that we'll get to see some more stars coming over. And again, it's like you said, if it's your tail end of your career, it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you're so decorated. You've won
Yeah.
the European Champions League. You've won the domestic title of the club you're at, and you've been there for years. Then absolutely, right? It's almost like it's not so much like. Well, I know we talk a lot about how the league's a bit of a downgrade for Messi, where even he said it's kind of like playing in a minor league. But at the same time, they still view it as this is a competition that I have not dominated in. And so I think that's what brings the competitiveness back, right? Whereas if Messi was still on Barcelona to this day, at some point, obviously Barcelona's in shambles right now as it is, but at some point it would have gotten there if they had kept him around, because he could have got bored in this situation. We do it every year. We win La Liga title, that kind of thing, right? And as we've seen with LAFC these last few years, they kind of got bored with the MLS last year. They wanted to win CONCACAF Champions Cup or Champions League last year it was. But But yeah, they ended up losing in the final, and we saw how that affected their form afterwards because it was like they couldn't win a match for the next few weeks because the motivation wasn't there. So yeah, if anything, I think maybe the move to the MLS could have even rekindle the fire inside Messi competitively because now this is a brand new league, brand new competitions that you haven't won.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have an MLS Cup. You don't have a CONCACAF Champions Cup. So these are all more feathers to put in the cap for him.
There's always also the marketing aspect of it, right? No one ever has worried about Lionel Messi and his marketing abilities. But there's something about nailing down North America, the United States, Canada, that market, and being able to compete in that market from an advertising standpoint. He's going to sell. He's already sold, more Miami jerseys than probably anybody, more than anybody in Miami, whether it's the Dolphins or the Heat or any of the professional sports teams down there. So at the end of the day, he actually can benefit from what happens from a commercial standpoint, in monies that he can make, and not just the monies, but the celebrity aspect of it. He's got a celebrity aspect. Of course, he's been a world celebrity, no doubt about it. But when you got guys like Dwayne Rock Johnson showing up to your, to your games, and guys like that, there's kind of a a situation where you're going, okay, cool. Not only am I playing and having fun, I'm also getting an opportunity to market myself in a place where I didn't get to market myself before.
Yeah, exactly. And as we've seen, he's done nothing but help the game grow over here in that time. So
yeah, he's even sold Apple subscriptions. So he's,
yeah.
you can't ask for much more than that. He's gotten it done. Just quick downshift here. Looked at a new, not that they don't come out every afternoon, but a new mock draft came out, and Chicago once again is, according to some people in the Chicago organization, they definitely plan on getting Caleb Williams, and he's their number one guy. I don't know what they're doing with Justin Fields. They haven't even mentioned what they're going to do with Justin Fields. They may even keep him.
Yeah.
So
It's one of those things to me where we've talked about how with the draft capital you have, it's a mistake. You have a developing quarterback. I think if anything, what this does is it just resets your team. Like maybe we're wrong, right? I know we talked a lot about how there's better quarterbacks in the draft this year, but okay, let's say maybe we're wrong. Caleb Williams is a star.
right.
He's the best one out there. You still set your franchise back a few years by doing this. Because you still have to get him used to the system, the team, the teammates
Right.
he's playing with. Oh, and not to mention, gee, what else? Oh, yeah, playing at the NFL level, which is a massive jump. There's different rules as well. So it's just one of those things where it makes no sense to me. But I'm with you. That's all I've seen is Fields to Atlanta, and then quickly that was shot down with like, oh, Atlanta's more likely to go for I forget who the quarterback was.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins over Fields, and it's like, all right, we'll have to see. But I think it's a big mistake, and only Chicago knows what they're gonna do.
Well, yeah. The thing that would concern me if I'm a Chicago fan is that Justin Fields last year was among, I believe, the bottom three in time allowed to basically throw. In other words, the offensive line sucked. I don't see how drafting Caleb Williams is going to change the offensive line sucking. It just doesn't seem to be. Now, I would have thought if you are, a number one pick, number one Chicago, that you could take that number one spot and trade it, get yourself multiple picks, and start building an offensive line from multiple picks throughout the draft. I don't see how adding Caleb Williams to a team that allows, a multitude of quarterback rush, hurries as well as sacks is going to do anything other than wreck him before you get to take him out of the box.
Yeah, definitely. That's always a good move. There's plenty of teams that always want to trade up. From what I've seen so far is your Washington Commanders are more likely to trade down, which makes no sense to me. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Again, if you at least with Fields, you're getting his legs too, which helps you with the
Right,
offensive line. It's still not great. You have to fix it, but it
right.
helps you out because he can run himself out of trouble. Caleb Williams isn't going to be the same dynamic on the same
No,
dynamic player on the ground. And if anything, you're just going to get him murdered out there. He's going to be like Sam
right,
Howell all over again,
right.
right? We're going to be challenging David Carr's record here for sacks in a
Mhm.
season.
Which is possible. You never know, but yeah,
I
it's
believe Sam
pretty.
Howell broke it, didn't he? Did he end up breaking it?
Oh, he broke it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, my bad. We're gonna break Howell's record that he broke just last season with Caleb Williams at this rate.
Actually, Hal had a funny line about it, and they asked him about it, and he goes, "Well, actually, this is helping me to my career after football." And they said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Basically, I like to do soil study." So he said, I've studied every turf in the league," and he goes, "I got a pretty good handle on what grass is better than the other grass." And so I mean, he handled it really clever, and better than most. But
Yeah.
so he's got a sense of humor. We know that much. But that's going to be a whole different situation. I don't know what Washington's going to be like under the auspices of the wonderful Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive genius. Um, I don't know how he found that job, but okay, good for you.
And that's what kills
Um,
me, right? They bring him in to try the experiment again, where like let's get a college QB you like, so you can work with them, but we're gonna trade down and we'll get somebody, we'll get someone lower in the draft. Which I mean, there's tons of QBs, so can
well,
you blame them? Maybe they're looking at it
no,
like that, but
you could grab JJ at that point. I mean, he'll be around. Some of these
yeah,
guys are going to slip to second, third round draft choices.
yeah,
You
100%.
could, you could. There's definitely guys. Probably Michael Penix. He could
Yeah,
be there as well.
haven't heard anything about him. Bo Nix
Crickets,
obviously had the stock draft go down,
right?
or the draft stock go down, and JJ McCarthy has been the one that's just
Yeah,
shot up through the combine, I guess, right? But
yeah.
we'll see how
It's
he
all because
turns
of that
out.
vertical leap. Yeah, so
Yeah, that vertical leap. Always
he
come
can.
back to that vertical leap.
That's right. And that and the broad jump. So
Doesn't matter what sport you're playing. Doesn't matter what you do, but you can jump high. We'll teach you the rules, and we'll find a place for you. It has nothing to do with the sport. We don't need high jumping in it, but you can do it. So come here.
I do remember years ago talking to Brian Billick on a conference call, and Brian was talking about Kyle Bowler, who they had gotten in the draft from University of California, and he said, he's got a great arm. As a matter of fact, he can throw the ball 60 yards in the air on his knees. And I said, Brian, if he's on his knees, what are the chances that he's going to have to throw the ball?
Yeah.
Some of these guys, you're just looking at them going, I'm sorry, it just doesn't pass the eye test here.
That's great. You can throw the ball 60 yards from your knees. You're down. It
Right.
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You're down.
Well, in the pros, you're not. But the point is, if you got a 6'5", 6'6" lineman, you got to not only throw it 60 yards, you got to loft it to get it over them. So
Well, that's what
I just,
that's what the high jumps for, right, Jim?
I guess if you jump on your knees, but they
Hitting
need a bounce
three-pointers
house.
into the end zone.
Right, exactly. It wouldn't hurt you, that's for sure. But yeah, it's crazy. Let's we got a few minutes here left, and let's go jump onto college basketball. Sad to say, because I am sad that they're leaving, but the Pac-12 tournament's going to start coming up this week, and we'll see. I mean, is that? I don't see that. That's not a two-bid. That's a two-bid league, maybe. You think?
Yeah, I don't see how it's more than
Who's
two.
there? Yeah, I mean,
Washington
Arizona.
State and Arizona. That's it.
Yeah, And Arizona's probably not a. I mean, they're gonna be a 1 seed, but I don't know that you can make the case that they're better than Tennessee. But
Yeah.
they're gonna be on the 1 line. If they're not, they'll be on the 2 line. Doesn't much matter. But yeah, I mean, it's coming to an end of a of a 131-year conference is going south for the winter here, and their last tournament's gonna be in Vegas. So there you go, boys and girls. Let's see what else is going on this weekend. That's when we'll start seeing the major tournaments. So they're going to be some of these teams that you and I've seen and liked are going to be playing their tournaments, including um, the Mountain West and the Missouri Valley Conference will be getting ready. And then, of course, next week there will be the AAC tournament and all the big ones, the SEC and ACC and Big 12 and Big East and the A10. So things are going to start getting interesting here as we get toward the bracketology part of this program. But that's coming up on the 12th I'm sorry, the 17th of March. So on St. Patrick's Day, we'll find out who's in and who's out. And last night, we talked about the Bulls ended up their season at home with a win over Tulane, and they checked out and looked at the scoreboard and went, "Wait a minute, we got to cover." So they put on a 16-5 run there in the last 4 minutes and closed out the home season, and they'll play Tulsa on Saturday and see if they can get their 16th straight win.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about this team. The gift that just keeps on giving. Another winning cover for the boys. So big shout out to South Florida. But just remember, don't be satisfied. I have some more motivation for you guys to just carry with. Don't overlook Tulsa. I know it's the last game of the season. This is the one Jim's worried about. So
that's the one.
You've proven me wrong in the last 2 games when I said, I'm a little scared about this one. Well, you know what? Let's prove Jim wrong. Let's pull off another big double-digit win here. And just remember, you cannot lose. Don't be satisfied, because as soon as you lose a game, that's it. That's the excuse to keep you out of the tournament. You simply have to win every single game. And, hey, if you need any more motivation, just remember, the odds makers have you at plus 6,600 to make the Final Four. They have USC at plus 5,000. That means the odds makers actually believe there's a better chance that USC, Southern California, the Trojans at the bottom of the Pac-12, is going to get hot, win the Pac-12 tournament, and go to the Final Four. That has more of a chance than you guys making it. So just remember that.
That's
when you go to play your next game.
That's sad. I mean, there was a day when USC was a good basketball program,
so
but
there
not
was a day
recently.
When they were ranked this season.
Yeah,
coming in.
Not so much. Yeah, and I wonder how much of that was. I don't know if it was Bronny James or not, but maybe they just thought that they had a decent team.
Well, it's also a lot of people Rodman
Utah.
Jr., right?
Yeah, Rodman's on the kids on that team. Snoop Dogg's kid didn't make the team, but it happens. So
maybe for good reason. We see what's happening to this USC team.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be fun to watch the tournament. It's going to be we got the tournaments before the tournaments, and then we'll see how that plays out. But there's some good mid-major teams too that we're going to get a chance to see. So San Diego State lost last night, which was a big a big blow. I think they'll still get in on name only, but they did lose to I believe it was UNLV. So
that
was a tough one to lose.
They've been bad on the road recently, and it's crazy because going into that game last night, there's about like 5 or 6 teams in the Mountain West who are all 12-4 and 11-5 in the conference.
Right.
So it's you look at it and you're like, this is like a 5-6 bid league. Obviously, they're not going
Right.
to get that, but
Yeah.
like there's definitely some good enough teams. The same way I think
Yeah.
the A10 should be a 3 bid league. They're not going to
Yeah.
get that, but
Yeah.
somehow third place Dayton is ranked 21st. They actually moved up in the rankings
Yeah.
and lost to Loyola last week, and they have
Right.
Loyola and Richmond ahead of them in the standings. So like, explain that one to me, Jim, please.
I can't explain. I would say the American is a 3-bid league or a 4-bid league, but I can't
Oh, it
explain
was
that
a
one either.
4 bid league, weeks ago before South Florida started to winning.
Right.
And then apparently, instead of, looking at it and saying, oh, South Florida must be a good team, we somehow went the opposite way and said the AAC must be a bad conference and Memphis and FAU just aren't as good as we think they are.
But they're both in most people's brackets.
Which again,
from the
mental
bracketology.
gymnastics, Jim. Mental gymnastics. Explain it.
I will say this. Tulane is, I think they won 4 or 5 games. They're a much better team than that. They've lost a lot of close games. They're definitely a better team, and I wouldn't. If somebody's going to get them early in the tournament, and that's not going to be fun for whoever gets them early, because they're not going to be fun to play. That tournament's going to be the Hunger Games. There's going to be some really good teams in that tournament down in, and it's being played in Fort Worth, Texas. So that's close to North Texas and also to SMU. So they'll be there. Be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
And speaking of interesting of how things play out, tonight you've got some stuff going on, and let's get to your picks, which are in the show box below.
Yeah, make sure you check out my premium picks at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. The links are in the description below. Coming off another winning day, 5-3. So I've had 4 winning days in the first 5 days of March now. We're heating up after a cold February. I have quite a few soccer plays you can get. I got a Champions League play that starts at 3. I got 2 plays in Argentina, as well as a Copa Libertadores play. I'm on an 11-4 run on the pitch since Saturday. And I also have 2 NBA plays as well as 3 college basketball plays, including my Big East game of the year and my NBA Pacific Division game of the year that you can go get. So make sure you check that out.
There you go. Foxy, you want to know how we're doing. And yes, thank you very much for doing well. And he's got, and I'm not quite sure what can you translate that way?
Yeah, I can. He's good to see you, Foxy. Good to see you back in the chat. He's just saying Copa Libertadores and Copa Sudamerica are back. Let's go. We got the South American soccer coming back, but
there you go.
Absolutely. I've been getting into the full swing now. Like I said, I got a Copa Libertadores play up for tonight that you can go grab. I'm on a 4-1 run in the Argentina Copa de la Liga Profesional right now. So definitely, hot on the pitch. Make sure you go check that out. It's good to see you in the chat, Foxy.
There you go. All right, folks, it's been fun. We will be back tomorrow, and it's a big Thursday, so by all means, check it out. And we look forward to seeing you. Till then, for Amedeus, I'm Jim. Take care, everybody.